This is the fourth and final video in the series of microservices, a path to living software. A quick recap: in part 1 we discussed the challenges of monolithic application architectures. In part 2 we explored where microservices are used in the wild and took a stab at defining what a microservice is, and we wrapped up with identifying the risks and downsides of microservices. In part 3 we explored design considerations and even took a stab at defining an architectural blueprint for a microservices-based application. In this final installment we will close the loop and probe what exactly living software is by comparing microservices to microbiology. Before we wrap up though, we'll explore some execution considerations. So as we embark on this journey, whether it's starting something from scratch or whether taking an existing monolith that's just driving you crazy, of course with microservices you can choose pretty much whatever language you want to, and that's a good thing. But be careful there. The risk is introducing too much change at once. So I would suggest that you use whatever language or platform you're comfortable with today. So if you're a Java shop, then and you want to move to microservices, then just start off using Java. As you recall in part 2, a property of a microservice is its replaceability. So I would stick with the language and platform that you're comfortable with today and roll out your microservices, and then take advantage of that replaceability feature of the microservice architecture. And if you want to explore or use the right tool for the right job, if other languages or platforms are more suitable for the task at hand, then kind of replace the original Java microservice with the new version in whatever language du jour you may choose to use with. But getting started, I would say just use whatever language platform you're comfortable with today. So polyglot, again, just because you can doesn't mean that you should. Be careful of polyglot, because you gotta support this at the end of the day. And if you're using a rich cosmopolitan mix of different languages and platforms, then keep in mind that you pay the price for that in terms of support and training and skills required to kind of keep the thing afloat. So just kind of be careful, be aware of that. And for existing projects, we talked about how you might carve off microservices incrementally. So you don't want to go straight from a monolith to 300 services overnight. No, you want to kind of take your time and carve out one or two, and get the basic infrastructure in place that you'll need. Make sure your monitoring's there, health checks and metrics, and kind of get comfortable with it. And then you can keep on going if it's working for you. If it's not going, then if it's not going well, then you haven't impacted too much, and you may fall back into the monolith if that's the case. Ideally, that wouldn't happen, but if for some reason you try it out and it's not for you, and it's introduced more problems, hasn't solved any of the original problems, and it's kind of a low risk thing. So start small. Always avoid big bang. But if you're interested in kind of moving forward, and there are several options out there. My background is predominantly Java, JVM on the server side as my platform of choice, and there are some interesting, wonderful open source solutions out there to kind of get you started. One of my favorites is Dropwizard, and that can really help you get started. There's a quick get started guide when you download Dropwizard. It's very opinionated, using the best of breed components. For example, it uses Jetty as its lightweight embedded container. It uses Jersey for JAX RS RESTful services. It uses Jaxon for JSON mapping, and it uses metrics for guess what, metrics. And you build it using Maven, and your entire microservice is built into a single Uber executable jar. And this is using the Maven Shade plugin. And this makes it really trivial to start your service. Recall back in part 2 where we made an attempt to define a microservice. We stated that the microservice had to be fast and easy to start. Well, the executable uberjar fulfills the easy to start requirement. This in turn makes it easy to create your init.d service scripts for you Linuxians out there, my fellow Linuxians. I'm not sure if that's a word, but anyhow. So Dropwizard is great. There are other alternatives too. I did a lot with the Play framework a few years back at my startup, and I love the Play framework. And you get a choice there of using Scala or Java. It's still fundamentally JVM based, but there are lots of wonderful things that are out there today and that are emerging too. So watch this space. Again, one of the things that we talked about in a previous video is the need to kind of have visibility into the state of your microservices, how are they performing, and so on. And so metrics, also from the same guys that provided us with Dropwizard, is a nice little plugin library that gives you that necessary insight. And then they have hooks into things like Gangling, and so that forms a nice piece of the monitoring and manageability puzzle. Good stuff. So finally, let's close out. Again, what is this living software? So to me, what it means is the life of a microservice kind of mimics nature in terms of microbiology, where we have kind of cells that die and kind of regenerate and so on. So you know, there's a link there between the world of microservices and the world of microbiology. So here we see microservices being replaced or upgraded, added to, and so on. So this is what I mean by kind of living software. The thing is the whole system as a whole is constantly evolving in an accelerated state, yet without all the risk. So you can obviously push a monolith to with all these changes, fire a bunch of changes at this monolith, but you know what? It could be risky, and the whole thing could kind of come crashing down, and you got to forensically go back and try and understand which change kind of tripped it up. But with the idea of these independent, small, manageable microservices that you change continuously, as long as they conform to their existing contracts with the system as a whole, then obviously this really kind of lays down the enablement of continuous delivery. And continuous delivery is, I think you're going to find, it's going to get more and more important. And it's not just about kind of increasing product acceleration and increasing time to market and features and whatnot. That is obviously kind of key, and you know, you've got to kind of stay ahead of competition, whatever space you're in. I've re-engaged in the info security world for the past 2 years now, and information security is changing. The threat landscape is continuously evolving, and you know, at the time this video is being published, we just got hit. The whole internet practically was hit with a vulnerability called Heartbleed, which was a vulnerability in OpenSSL, and which happens to power 60-70% of the internet's websites. Our capacity to be effective, present and in the future, is going to be related to how quickly we can evolve and move forward to take on these vulnerabilities, in addition to fulfilling our business needs as we try and accelerate. And I think microservices are not the be-all end-all, but you know, this idea of living software, I don't see how it can hurt that. So that's what I mean by living software. And also, you know, after doing this for 20 years or so, I'm really quite tired. I've come to the end of my tether regarding monolithic systems that are just not enjoyable to work with. These big ball of mud kind of structures, if you can call them that, structures, kind of a key word. So, and legacy is painful, and it holds you back and it slows down velocity, and it really is painful, as we discussed in the first video. With this idea of living software, again, I had this dream of maybe legacy software can just become a thing of the past. Wouldn't that be nice? If your microservices are young and fresh and healthy cells in a bigger system, that they do not age past 6 months, and then theoretically we can do away with this idea of legacy software, which is just a burden, an economic burden, and a security burden, and just doesn't make me happy dealing with monoliths. So if we can get to this idea of no more legacy software, maybe I'll start a campaign similar to Salesforce.com. So this idea of renewal and regeneration, very similar to the world of microbiology, as the brain cells apparently regenerate, renew. There's an old saying that I remember when I was a kid, and essentially, I think it was my dad that dispensed this, but I don't think he can claim credit for it. But basically, if you look after the pennies, the pounds will look after themselves. So if we focus at the cellular level, dealing with the microservices, then and focus on the health of those individual services, then ideally the system as a whole will be healthy. That's the idea. And with that, I'd like to say thank you for your time.